Fear gripping Wall Street this morning as investors brace for another wild ride.
This is all guys looking to liquidate. I mean, you know, certainly troubling near term.
The Dow hit a milestone on Monday, closing below 10,000 for the first time in 4 years, wiping out nearly a decade of gains.
The Dow closed above 10,000 for the first time ever as traders celebrated at the closing bell.
The crisis of confidence on Wall Street is playing out on Main Street, with banks, large corporations, small businesses, and individuals all caught in the midst of a global credit crunch.
It's going to take a while to restore confidence in the financial system.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrials dropped nearly 700 points more in the opening minutes of trading, made up much of that loss in the last hour. Still, the index closed 128 points lower.
Similar story in Paris, where stocks have fallen even more than ours.
I'm Michelle Caruso-Cabrera in London, where a massive bailout for banks and that huge global interest rate cut did little to calm investors. Stocks here ended lower by more than 5%.
This is Steve Sedgwick in Reykjavik, Iceland, where an entire country faces economic collapse. I've just spoken to the Icelandic Prime Minister, who told me he'll follow up the state takeover of two of the country's largest banks with more dramatic action in order to avoid a meltdown. And Russia could play a role as well, as the country seeks a $5 billion loan after other countries turn their back on its attempt to avoid a meltdown.
The Dow's worst week in history today, some relief.
There it is, and has just turned positive.
Zipping in and out of positive territory after a global sell-off that started in Tokyo, saw trading halted in Russia, Italy, and Iceland, and continued with more selling in London and Paris.
There is no limit, and that all this expansion, this success, this elan, we're not really going to have to pay for it. Now, of course, that didn't turn out to be true. You could see the crash. Why do you think they called it the crash? I mean, it's really an airborne collapse metaphor. You can't crash if you never left the ground. And it's not like a crack up where you're on the ground and you collide into something else. Rather, it's, the plane fell.